All right, y'all. We are back at it again. We made the change podcast.
Episode 5.
Episode 5. Do we have to keep talking about it? Does that help us keep up with our episodes?
I mean, it does for you, I said, because you're old. So I want to make sure that you know where we are. So you got old man brain.
Whatever. So, what's the name of our podcast? We made the change.
I told y'all he forgot the name.
See, whatever, man. Whatever. I know the name of the podcast. So we made the change. Like always, we definitely want to try to hit y'all with topics that resonate on a daily basis with the achievement of trying to make that change. Some good, some bad. But today we're talking about the importance of walking away from certain relationships.
That hit home for me.
Dang. I know in your lifetime you've experienced a lot of relationships. Just because you're older and you've met a lot of people in your life, you've met a lot of people. That's what I'm trying to say. You've met a lot.
Your word choice today is not So your lifetime, and
I'm just saying, certain people at a certain age get to meet more people than other people.
Yeah, I'm 65.
Hey, black don't crack. So the importance of walking away from certain relationships. Sometimes people get that misconstrued and think when you talk about walking away from relationships, it causes sometimes anxiety.
Yeah.
Because, I can reflect on a relationship that I had with one of my family members. It was one of my male cousins. We grew up we ran together like
tough,
real tough. But as I started growing in my journey, I noticed myself farther and farther away from that relationship, not hanging out as much, not calling as much. And it wasn't because I felt like I didn't want to hang out or call. I was just so locked in and focused on my goal. And in the midst of you being locked in and focused on your goals, especially depending on where you're trying to go, you run into new people.
Yeah.
And these new people now become a part of your circle. So you end up having conversations with these new people more than you do with the people that you once used to have these conversations. So it's a seasonal thing.
Yeah.
And I think people struggle with letting a part of that season pass and moving on to the next season. No different in our relationship.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. So me and Crystal talk every day. I'm pretty sure prior to me and Crystal talking every day, Crystal probably talked to somebody else on a regular basis.
Yeah, pretty much.
But now that me and Crystal talk every day because we share a common goals. Yeah. It makes it comfortable talking to somebody who shares common goals with you on a regular basis. But it doesn't exempt you from that circle that you talked to before me.
Yeah.
And vice versa for me. I got my brothers, we got a group chat. I ain't as active on that group chat as I probably was a year ago. And it's not because I'm disowning my brothers or nothing like that. I'm just so busy focusing on my goals.
Working on you.
Working on me. And no knock to them. That I love my circle to death. I'm a firm believer. If we locked in, we locked in for life. I can run into my partner I ain't seen in 5 years, and we go talk like we
never left. Yeah.
Ain't never left. But I know for some people, letting go of those relationships is hard.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's so hard for people?
I think you feel like you owe them. You came up together, you grew up together, and y'all locked in. But as you start going through your journey and they start going through their journey, and I think you touched a little bit on the past episode, you know, the people you hung with in elementary, middle school, you know, y'all all had a common goal. But as you get older and you get out of high school, you go your separate ways, and everybody is going through their changes. Some people starting families, some people going off to college, you know, whatever. But it may not be the passage, the journey that you need to get to where you're going, because the conversation's got to be different.
Yeah.
Like, I have certain people that I talk about this with, and I have certain people I talk about that with, because if I try to, like me and you, we talk about goals, business, family. I can't do that with certain individuals that I talk to, because one, I'm gonna get frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, they on some, you know, like, why am I talking to them? And it's, you don't want to be like that.
Yeah. You gotta set boundaries.
Yeah.
You have to set boundaries in within the relationship.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
I've had to let go of a few people. And it was hard. Yeah. Like, I cried about it.
Yeah.
But I knew that if I'm going to get to where I'm going, I gotta let it go.
Yeah. Can't take everybody with you.
Yeah, and people gonna be upset.
Yeah.
Oh, you think you better than us? Yeah. You acting bougie.
Yeah.
It's none of that.
Yeah.
I just got goals for myself, and I know if I keep dealing with you, because you want to go out every weekend, you want to hang out, you want to drink, I'm not going to get to where I'm going.
Yeah.
So you have to create boundaries.
It's hard to choose yourself.
Yeah. You got to practice self-love.
Yeah. It's hard to choose yourself, especially when you come up in an environment where you're being taught that this circle is everything. Yeah. We don't leave this circle. And typically for certain households, everybody is connected to this circle.
Right.
And if you leave that circle, you're now the outcast, and you're going to get talked about, you're going to get ridiculed. All this stuff is going to come your way. And if you're not a strong individual, it can break you.
Yeah, you got to have thick skin.
You got to have thick skin. But I think going through that process, for whoever's out there going through that process and you feeling like you're going through it by yourself, first of all, you're not going through it by yourself. No. But it's necessary that you go through this, because once you achieve a certain level of success, you got to have these boundaries set up.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be successful if you don't have these boundaries set up. You will never make a change in your life if you don't necessarily understand how to set boundaries with certain people in your life.
And you got to set boundaries with everything you do, because if you don't, you're not going to reach your goals. Yeah. And let's face it, let's be real. Yeah. Everybody is not going to be successful. And that's, as much as we want them to, that's just what it is. Yeah. Yeah. And you got to accept reality sometimes. Yeah. And sometimes you actually have to cut the relationship completely off. I don't care if it's going to sound real bad.
Yeah. Come on.
I don't care if it's family members, sister, brother, friends, coworkers, whoever. If they don't mean you no good, you better put yourself first. Yeah. And I had to learn that.
Yeah. That's a hard lesson to learn, and it takes time, because, I can only imagine the struggle, especially when you, for instance, we talked about this on one episode, how this generation of kids might achieve a level of success faster than we did. When you're young and you achieve success and you're not comfortable with cutting off certain relationships, man, it can really affect you. It's definitely draining. Yeah. Definitely draining. I saw a podcast, and I saw a guy say, I don't allow conversation with my mother till after 11 o'clock in the morning. And everybody was like, what? Because I think it was
that's your mama.
That's your mama. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you going to say what time your mama can call you?
Right.
And he said, I do this because I have to protect my peace, because my mom will call me early in the morning with all her problems on me, all the problems of my sister, all the problems of my mom, brother, the grandkids, all these problems she will put on my plate, And before noon even get here, I'm trying to fix other people's problems.
Overloaded. Yeah.
Oh, draining.
I think that comes with older kids, like the oldest.
Yeah.
Or the ones who are the ones that everybody go to.
Yeah.
You know, people don't realize that who do they go to? Yeah. You know, when they have stuff going on, a situation, who can they call? Because you calling all the time with your problems, but when they turn around and call you, you can't solve them. You can't give them no advice, nothing. So you got to protect your energy.
So that's why it's so important to understand the dynamics of walking away from certain relationships, but also building certain relationships.
Yes.
Because when you've been in an environment where you've been that person that everybody go to, they put all their problems on you. They put all that negative energy in it. Let me not say that, because it ain't always necessarily the negative energy. It's we're not on the same frequency energy. And that it might just be common conversation. But if we're talking about something that happened in elementary school and all I'm thinking about is this business deal that I'm trying to accomplish, I really can't call every day and talk about what we did in elementary school.
Because where you going to be?
Yeah.
That's in the past. Yeah. Where are you going to be? You keep talking about that.
So it's not necessarily, I don't want people to think that you cutting off relationships only because they're negative. Sometimes you just got to cut relationships off because in that season of your life, you're going in a different direction and you need people that's going to feed you the necessary.
Feed into your growth.
Yes. Yeah. You got to have people around you that feed you in that season of your life to grow to the next level. And I know for us that's a hard change. That is a hard change because most people are connected to their circle. And
it's their identity.
Their identity. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Their identity is connected to that circle. And to go out and build your own identity outside of that circle, oh, my goodness.
It's scary. Yeah. Lonely.
Yeah.
Then you having to start new conversations with people that you don't know. You know, you're out your comfort zone, but you're not going to grow if you don't get out your comfort zone.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I remember.
So one of your old stories from back in the day?
Yeah, this is one of my old stories. You in it, actually, because that's how old it is, because you old. But, so when I first came into the business that we're currently in and operating, I had already went through this transition of, but because of network marketing that I was in, I was comfortable with getting out of my comfort zone and just talking to random people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't uncomfortable for me anymore. I could talk to anybody. I enjoy building relationships with strangers.
'Cause he can talk, y'all.
I can definitely talk. So I remember meeting Crystal and her husband Damien for the first time, and I don't think they expected me to be who I am.
Oh my God. Looking like, who is this? He ain't shut up yet.
Because I'm the type, especially with us, because we doing the same thing. We're in the same business. So I'm a sponge when it comes to collecting information, especially if it's going to be beneficial to me. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm now at the stage in my life where if that relationship is not going to benefit me, then we're probably not going to talk as much.
I'm like that too.
You
have to be like that.
You have to be like that. You know, it's crazy because when I was in network marketing, the company that I was with, the organization that I was a part of, I noticed when I was achieving goals within the company, leadership would always communicate with me. When I wasn't achieving goals, ghost. They never talked to me. And I got offended.
Why'd you get offended?
I got offended because I felt like, because I had the mindset of typical relationships. If we in a relationship, we locked in forever, and it ain't, you know what I'm saying, it's all personal. I didn't understand how to separate the business from the personal.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking because we cool, because we talking and we only talking about business all the time, that, we locked in. But they were looking at it from a business standpoint. Like, when you're succeeding, we locked in, we talking. But when you're not succeeding and you're not doing your job, I got to go talk to somebody who's doing their job, because I need to motivate this person to keep doing their job.
Right.
And I couldn't understand it. I literally would have conversations with myself and get offended. And I had to learn as I grew that I have to learn how to separate relationships.
Create them boundaries.
And I had to know personal from business, relationships. Yeah. And I think that's a hard realization.
It is.
To face.
Yeah.
Especially if you genuinely a nice person and you genuinely like making relationships.
It shouldn't have been hard for you then.
Oh, no, she didn't. I am very nice. But I was just super friendly when it came to building relationships. And I thought that these relationships would be no matter what relationships we can talk about. So it was a lesson that I needed to learn because it has helped me tremendously in our business now, operating our own business, because we got to definitely make boundaries.
That's what taught me.
Yeah.
The business that we are in now.
Yeah.
Because I am naturally friendly.
Woo.
So I would be... Woo. You're doing it too much now.
But go ahead.
I would develop relationships with my employees. I'm invested in what's going on with them. Family life, when they got something going on, call me. I'm going to help you. But then when it got down to the business, and then something's going on, and I need to, constructively, criticize you or whatever, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because now you looking at me like we friends.
It's personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got to be business, so you mad.
Yeah. I dare you come to me on some business stuff when we friends.
Yeah. And now I'm in my feelings because I actually feel bad for doing it, but at the same time, I got to do what the business needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had to learn how to separate that.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. And I think that that comes with a lot of conversation with yourself, realizing. And it gives you a different perspective on business owners.
Yes. Now you understand.
Now you understand.
For my fellow business owners, I want y'all to comment in the comment section and tell us like a situation that you have experienced, something sort of maybe similar or whatever, but that showed you I need to create boundaries.
Because I definitely think that could possibly be the reason why your business is not as successful as you want it to be, because you have not created those boundaries within those relationships in your business.
Yeah. You know what?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. I got another one.
Go ahead. Talk to me.
Me and my husband, we used to be in the same office.
Never gonna happen.
Lord.
I gotta get the boundaries.
Man, we had to create boundaries because we about to pull each other hair out.
Yeah.
So we had to establish, this is what you do, this is what I do.
Yeah.
He left the office.
Oh, yeah. He had to.
He had to,
Yeah, he had to, because, that ain't gonna work.
At all?
Yeah, my wife is never coming into my office. Never coming in setting up shop in my office.
Yeah.
No.
But we had to create those boundaries.
Yeah.
And sometimes with family, like you said, your mama, it could be your mama.
Yeah. It can definitely be the closest people to you, especially when you're going, and this is something that I really want business owners to understand. When you're going through your journey of trying to accomplish success within your business, this is for all my entrepreneurs, you got to be comfortable with setting boundaries to whoever is becoming a distraction to your business. No matter how much you love them, how much you care about them, you have to learn how to set those boundaries, because it can be the determining factor of the success level of your business.
Yeah.
You know,
if you grow.
Yeah.
You know, or fail.
And unfortunately, a lot of people that are in business who don't work on those traits become stagnant in their business. Yeah. And their business is just floating. It's just floating.
I think when you have a business or you're just trying to get to the next level, you have to do a lot of self-reflecting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, that needs to be your new job.
Yeah.
Every day.
You're going to constantly do it. Constantly build up on yourself every day.
Yep.
Because I have those, like you said, you have conversations. I have those conversations with myself daily. Mm-hmm. And I go back and look at yesterday and I think about it. How can I, be a better person than I was yesterday? Yeah, what did I do yesterday that I need to work on? Yeah. And I go from there. It ain't always successful, but,
I'm reading a book now. I forgot the author of it, but it's becoming 1% better every day. You know what I'm saying? So I personally don't put a 100% tag on my growth.
Yeah,
it's just me getting 1% better every single day. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, every day is not gonna be the most glamorous pat yourself on the back day. But if the mindset is I want to get better every day, chances are 7 days out of the week, at least 5 of those, you're gonna strive for getting better. Yeah. So that makes a huge difference. When you dig into these relationships, you just said, parents, and we put emphasis on the relationship from our parents, and how important it is to understand that even these relationships deserve boundaries. Because I know some people have parents who are overbearing, and they don't allow you to set boundaries with them because they feel like I'm the parent. You know what I'm saying? How important is that to establish that relationship with a parent, to understand that I'm trying to accomplish this goal, and I can't allow you to continue to distract me from accomplishing this goal?
I think it needs to be a conversation, because you don't want to cut them off. That's your parents. That's, you don't want to cut them off, but you do have to set boundaries and say, like you said, maybe I don't talk to you before this time, or sometimes parents are triggers.
Ooh.
I have that, I have that.
Yeah.
And we talk about it.
Yeah.
But you gotta, oh, Lord. Well, it's a real one.
We gonna have them real tough conversations on this show. Real tough conversations, but
you gotta kind of, Melvin, I still deal with this. I still struggle with this.
Yeah.
And my go-to was I just cut them off.
Yeah.
I don't deal with them at all.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that.
It's not a good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not. And I have to learn to set those boundaries. Mm-hmm. Maybe I talk to them on 2 or 3 times out the week, or when I'm getting ready to, don't do it before you get ready to go to bed, because you might have some nightmares.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
But you just gotta set time.
Yeah.
Just like when we were talking about distractions and then the last episode, writing stuff down and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You gotta write stuff down, and you gotta set times to deal with certain situations or certain people. Yeah. And you gotta have a time limit. If you say, I'm gonna call my homegirl and we're gonna talk on the phone for 15 minutes. 15 minutes, get off the phone.
Yeah, come up with a lie. Get off the phone.
Come up with a lie. Is that what you do to me?
I don't do that to you. I don't do that to you. I'll just be honest with you. I'll just be like, I don't want to talk to you no more. But that ain't never happened. No, you definitely you got to learn how to establish those boundaries.
Yeah.
And if you come from that close, not niche family to where you're accustomed, I remember my grandmother. I'm finna go deep. Me and my grandmother, we used to talk like every day when I was in my 20s. When I was in my 20s and I really didn't have set goals, remember I was telling you, I was going through this journey, but I necessarily didn't know what I wanted. So I didn't even understand the concept of setting goals. I was just kind of basically working on myself and not necessarily knowing I was. But I would talk to my grandma like all the time. And my grandmother is one of those grandmothers that sits on the front porch and talk about everybody that comes down the street. So my grandmother she's gonna gossip. She knows
a gossiping partner.
Yeah. This was my gossiping partner, like ride or die. We go talk for hours about everything that's going on.
That's a good relationship.
Oh, it's
beautiful.
That's a beautiful relationship. Like I love that relationship, and it's crazy because I remember when I started having conversations with myself saying, I cannot continue to talk to my grandma like every day about stuff because it's taking away my energy for me to be able to focus on this.
Yes.
And I wanted that so bad, but I knew what those conversations with her were doing to my energy that was holding me back from accomplishing things that I probably could have been doing. I could have been focused on this or thinking about this because the brain, you know, everything you put into it, it's going to be a reflection of your life.
Exactly.
So I had to learn how to turn that part off. And when I say, Krista, it was hard. It was hard because I love my grandma to death. And I just had to get to a point where I was like, I can't talk to my grandma every day because I know where this conversation is finna go.
You still love her. Yeah.
Still love her. Still love her to death. We, you know, do anything. But I had to learn this. My grandma ain't finna change.
No.
She 80-something years old. She is not finna change for nobody. So she's going to continue. She looked forward to her grandson calling her, talking about Miss Betty around the corner.
God, just messy.
So I had to learn that I had to set boundaries. So I can't.
How did you do that though?
So my level of communication wasn't what it is now. So I failed in the beginning because I failed because I went cold turkey and I just stopped talking to my grandma, which was the wrong thing to do. And then as I got older and learned how to communicate better, then we had to have that conversation. And I had to have the conversation with her, letting her know, I love you to death, but I can't. I don't want to feed into gossiping because that's what we do, because that's our normal habitat. So I had to learn how to separate those relationships and set those boundaries. And, you know, now we still, you know, when I go over or when I talk to her, we have gossiping conversations, but it ain't to the magnitude that it was. So
how did she take it?
I think she understood.
Okay.
I think she understood because she, in her eyes, my grandson is trying to go accomplish his goals. So I'm not going to be the barrier that stands in between him and his goals. I love him to death, and I just want to see him achieve his goals, and he will come around when he need to come around.
That's good, because I think when you have friends like that, that's your real friend.
Absolutely.
Because they want to see you grow.
Absolutely. So, you know, for those people who have those special people in their life who sometimes it's just a conversation. And you can have that conversation in a way that it doesn't offend that person, but just letting that person know. Because sometimes people just don't know what you're going through. They don't know that you're trying to achieve these goals because you're not even in a place to where you feel comfortable talking to them about some of them goals because you know who you're dealing with. And you know they ain't going to be understanding anyway. They're not going to understand what you're going through because they are not in that point of their life to where it matters to them to understand what you're going through.
Right. But see, you had an example of a loving relationship. You know, your grandma want to see you grow, so she understood. But what happens when you have that toxic relationship and, you know, you're trying to grow, but they're putting all the negativity on you. Like if you tell them, hey, I want to do this, and they telling you all the reasons why you're going to fail. And I believe that they put those insecurities on you because they're afraid. And you have to be able to identify that and block it, shut it down.
So that's a hard one.
It is.
And I think a lot of us struggle with those more than the opposite. And that's where you get to a point to where you kind of lose relationships. I think because I struggle with some of those people in my life who have that negative conversation or that negative way of thinking. You know, that's where the whole, oh, you think you all that and all that stuff plays in the part when that's, and I think we spoke on this before, that's not necessarily, so I'm going to take you back to a story about me and one of my cousins.
Story time, y'all.
Yeah, story time. So I got a cousin, and I want to say from my perspective, he was like the first person in our family that went off and achieved success. But when he did it, he's older than me. He's maybe 6-7 years older than me. So when he did it, he was going through his journey, and as I'm growing older and I'm seeing things that I want to accomplish for myself, not necessarily knowing the steps, but I know I want something different than my environment is giving me. I felt a certain type of way about our relationship. Not to say that because of the age difference, we didn't have like a close, needed relationship, but this was my cousin.
Yeah, y'all were cool.
We was cool. Yeah. I held a grudge for years thinking that it was his responsibility to come give me the information that he was receiving to accomplish his goals.
Why'd you think that?
I think because I grew up in an environment where reaching back wasn't a big thing.
Yeah.
And I was angry because I knew somebody who personally had accomplished goals and became successful, and my family bragging about his success and things like that. And I felt that it was his obligation to come back and give me the information.
So you never reached out to him?
Never reached out to him. Not one time.
Why?
I don't even think I knew how to communicate to reach out to him. Mm-hmm. These are just conversations that I'm having in my own head. I don't know how to verbally tell him I want some information to become successful. I'm just judging him because he's not giving me that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking he should know that you need to come give me this information.
Mm-hmm. He can't read your mind, though.
He can't read my mind.
He don't know what you planning on doing.
But more importantly, I don't know how many people in our family he gave that information to that didn't use that information. Because that's a burnout.
Yes.
When you try to help somebody that you're close to and give them information and they don't use that information, or they just dismiss the information like whatever, it kind of give you the insight of saying, I'm tired of sharing.
Right. Yeah.
I ain't finna sit up here and talk to them till I'm blue in the face and give them this information because they ain't gonna do nothing with it.
Yeah, I've known people that has gotten to that point. I have gotten to that point before.
Yeah, I think we all have.
Yeah. I think people look at, your situation. They look at, do they have a lot of money, or what car they drive, or, whatever. And they don't understand the struggle that comes with that.
Yeah.
And then you want to help people.
Yeah.
And you want to give them the information, but when you give it out so much, and like you said, they don't do nothing with it, you're like, my time is valuable. Why am I wasting my time?
Yes. So as I got older and I started going through my process and my journey and seeing the difficulties that it takes to become successful, the sacrifices that you got to make, the isolation that you got to take just to stay focused on your goal, I then started realizing this is what my cousin was doing.
Yeah.
Like, for him to become who he is as a man, he had to set these boundaries. He had to go isolate himself to a certain degree to stay focused, because sometimes your family will deter you from being focused. Yeah. So, fast forward. Now I'm this. I don't even think I was at the level that I'm in now, but I was definitely there. There definitely was a vision, and I could see the end goal coming. Not the end goal, but I could see, if I continue to go this way, success is going to come. I had that thought process. When I started thinking like that and started seeing all the stuff that I had to overcome behind me to get to here, I had a conversation with my cousin. And so we on the phone, and I told him straight up, said, for the longest I held a grudge against you.
That was big of you.
Oh,
to admit that.
Yeah, it was a part of me that I was proud of my growth.
Yeah.
And
it came from growth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I told him, I said, for the longest I held a grudge against you, and I know you didn't know this. I said, but I was very angry at you. And I said a part of the anger was me wanting to be successful and saw somebody in my family that was successful, and I felt like you didn't come back and pick me up. I said, but I have to apologize because I now know what it takes to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the obstacles that you are faced with when going through success, and truly not understanding, how hard it is to get to success.
Yeah.
And how focused you got to be to get to success. So, I commend you on getting to your level of success, but I also apologize to you as a man for having this built up anger towards you for nothing.
How did he?
Oh, it helped mend our relationship on a whole different level. I know that he now looks at me in a different light, and has a newfound respect for me. Not that he didn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of us sometimes go through relationships with family members or friends who we just don't even know because it's not being communicated.
Because a lot of times those relationships are surface level. We're not really digging down and talking about stuff.
Yes. And from my perspective, now I'm a stronger communicator than my cousin is, because he's not the vocal type that would express the way I express.
Yeah.
So, how in my eyes, I feel so good about that because I broke down a wall and a barrier between us that probably would have never got broken down had he gave me the information and I didn't take it and receive it and do anything with it. If he would have gave me that information that he probably learned in his 20s and I wasn't ready to receive it, I would have burnt the bridge.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't have been able to have that conversation.
Probably wouldn't even took your call.
No.
Yeah.
Because he would have put me in the category with everybody else that he probably reached out to and said, hey, let me show you how to get to A, B, and C.
Right.
Because we do it on a regular basis.
We do.
We do it on a regular basis, and it gets very frustrating and it gets very tiresome when you trying to educate somebody that you care about and love on things that can help them become a better person, and they don't do anything with it. Not to say that I'm your gatekeeper and you need to listen to what I say.
Yeah.
That's not the
like
case.
That, yeah.
It's just I learned some things in life, and I want to share them with you.
Right.
Because I want you to learn them.
But you know what? I think creating boundaries should start early. Yeah, I think.
Explain it.
I think elementary is too young, but even in middle school, like, as you get a little bit older, get into those teen years, you have to be able to learn how to create boundaries and, I tell my kids, look at what your friends are doing. Are they going in the direction that you eventually want to go in? Are they making good grades? I think it starts right there. You have to learn who you can hang with, who you can't hang with. Are these people getting in trouble all the time? Yeah. Are they doing their work? Like, how do they interact with their parents? I tell my kids to look at that. Yeah. So I think most people don't start there, though. Yeah. They don't start creating boundaries there. Something has to happen for a boundary to be created. But if you kind of start working on it early, it makes it easier as you go on, because you're going to get life experiences and, struggles, whatever you go through, and you'll start learning how to work on it even more. It's like building a muscle. Yeah. So you have to use it.
Yeah. I think a big part of the reason why it's hard to create those boundaries at such a young age is because sometimes, like us, we're better communicators than our parents.
Yes.
So as we learn how to communicate in a proper way, it makes it easier for us to have those conversations with our kids. I think if you push yourself to focus on becoming a better communicator, and that's something that can be taught. Yeah. I think over time if you want to become a better communicator, you can become a better communicator.
Anything you do, you got to work on it.
Yeah, you got to work on it. You got to work on it. And I think once you establish that, it'll help you set those boundaries with those friends that you need to set boundaries with, and then give yourself an opportunity to grow in the areas that you need to grow in. Yeah. For instance, like I said, I think him setting those boundaries helped him grow.
And it probably did. We don't know what he was going through, what he was experiencing.
Exactly. So he might have had to go build a relationship with somebody outside of his circle of family and friends.
You have to.
You got to. You got, because that's the only example you're gonna get to broaden your horizons.
Right. You got to develop new relationships. A big one for me is you have to practice self-love. You have to tell yourself, I am deserving of these new relationships, positive relationships that's going to help me grow. I'm not going to be stuck in these toxic relationships or these negative situations because it's not going to help you change. Yeah. I feel like you're going to keep digging deeper and deeper, and eventually you're going to just give up.
You're going to find a level of contentment.
Yeah.
And you're going to stay there.
And that's why we have a lot of older people that are content with where they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's disturbing when you're on this path of growth because it pushes you away from individuals like that. Not because you don't love them, because you just don't want to become a product of that environment.
That's another thing. What about outgrowing your parents?
Whew, that's another subject. But that's one of those relationships. So I've always said this, and I'm gonna continue to say this. For me, the journey of growth will never stop. I'm always learning to grow.
For nobody.
For nobody. Yeah. Even at 70, 80, 90, I want to continue to always learn and grow. I think the hard realization of when it comes to parents is if you see that your parent has stopped growing. Because when it comes to outgrowing your parents, I want my kids to outgrow me.
Absolutely.
Because that means they're working just as hard as I am to grow. But I don't want my kids to outgrow me because I stopped growing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want to get to a place where it's like, oh, I ain't got to worry. I ain't got to think of nothing. I can just settle in my contentment that I'm in, and this is enough.
Right.
I don't want my kids to outgrow me in that area. I want my kids to say, I've learned something from my dad that continues to grow me. Now I've went outside of my environment and learned something else that's going to continue to grow me to a point to where I now am growing on the level of my dad or above my dad.
Yeah, because that's the goal.
Yes, because now I can go to my kid and grow from my kid.
Yeah.
But
when you have those parents that are stagnant, and you're trying to communicate with them, just like old boy said, I can't talk to them before 11.
Yeah.
You have to set those boundaries. You have to put stuff in place to where they're not prohibiting you from growing.
Yeah, and I would love for, if you are dealing with a parent who you feel like has gotten stagnant in their growth, for that parent to be okay with growing from their kid.
Yeah. Easier said than done.
Oh, it's definitely easier said than done because, when you come from the parent background of I'm the parent and I know everything, I don't believe that at all.
Me neither. I think you should be able to, with anybody, I think you should be able to have conversations without it turning into an argument.
Absolutely. And it takes cooler heads to prevail to make those conversations come reality, especially in our culture because frustration comes fast.
It does. It does.
It comes fast. And when you talk about setting boundaries in relationships, when those level of frustrations come fast for me, and I'm pretty sure it's the same for you, I just leave it and walk away from it because I'm not going to feed into it.
Yeah, the negativity.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to automatically know where your mindset is as far as your growth by the conversation that we're having.
Oh, yeah.
And if that conversation is going the wrong direction, I don't even entertain it. I just walk away from it.
You know what? And that's another thing. When you meet people, I think when I meet people, I know if I'm going to continue this relationship in the first couple of meetings.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We might become associates or whatever.
Yeah.
But it won't go past surface.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's growth and maturity.
Yeah.
And valuing your relationships. Yeah. I know I need to give X amount of time to this relationship more than I give to this relationship.
Right. You got to nurture your relationships.
Yeah. And you got to be mature enough to have that conversation with yourself to be okay with saying, I love my partner, but, I'm only going to communicate him when the football game come on and I want to watch it.
We're only going to talk about this.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think, as far as creating boundaries, it to me, it starts young and as you grow and mature, you develop it even more. But from the middle school, high school kid to the college, to anybody that's trying to do something, whether you're trying to get good grades, you're trying to get into college, you're trying to start a business, especially when you're trying to start a business, you're going to have to create those boundaries. With me, the biggest thing is I always say, identify what are you trying to do. Always identify what you're trying to do, because if you're not identifying what you're trying to do, where are you going?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You just kind of running around with a chicken with his head cut off. So you got to identify. We always say, write stuff down. Write stuff down. See who those people are. That's, those relationships that's not doing you any good. Maybe have a conversation with them. And if that conversation don't go the way, it needs to go, that's who you need to kind of start moving in a different direction. Not necessarily saying, oh, cut them off completely, but this is the kind of conversation I can have with you. And this is the kind of conversation I can't have with you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, and you keep on trying to, like me and you talk about business.
Yeah.
But if you were always talking about going out, doing this, doing that, and then when I approach you and talk about business, you don't even know how to have a conversation with me.
At all.
And that's going to frustrate me.
Yeah. I ain't going to know how to receive that.
Yeah.
Because I might not be at a place in my life where I won't even talk about business. And I'm going to get offended that every time you call me, you want to now talk about business.
So you got to learn. Yeah. You got to learn people.
Yeah. And like I said, it's hard because some of the people that you're learning are people that you have the long life relationships with.
Cousins, sister, brothers, best friends,
But you're relearning yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's where the change comes. Yeah. When we talk about we made the change, a part of that big change is you relearning yourself.
Yeah.
And you got to be okay with the new you.
Mm-hmm. And it's scary.
And being a better version of you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So those boundaries are definitely something else. I would love for people to leave a comment and talk about some of those friendships that you need to set boundaries on, but it's been a battle.
What you waiting on?
Yeah, it's been a battle.
Yeah.
Don't name drop. We don't want your cousin Pookie to come over there and talk about you.
You ain't trying to see no fights.
You ain't the real one no more.
We'll be like, World Star. We don't know about none of that.
But leave a comment and let us know about the struggles that you might be facing when creating boundaries between relationships, because I think we both can contest that relationships are definitely a valuable part of your growth. And if you want to continue to grow and get better, you're going to have to build positive relationships that give you an outline of going in that direction. So, got anything else on that?
Check us out next time. And I'm going to say episode 6 because he ain't going to remember y'all.
Where we at, 5?
See? You don't even know the name of the podcast.
I know the name of the podcast.
He don't.
The name of the podcast is We Made the Change.
Okay.
But until next time, guys, like always, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this page. It does us a justice to be able to sit down and have these conversations with you guys, and hoping that you can take some of this information and implement it into your life and build out some of those goals and those visions that you see for yourself, that you always have conversations within yourself, and know that you ain't alone. And
no, we all struggle.
It's a struggle, but you got to be willing to make a change. You got to be willing.
You think they should share it to the person that they need to create?
Nope.
Hey, maybe they need to see it.
They can. You can send them all the videos then, so they won't feel like this direct one. Just say, go watch We Made the Change podcast and listen to all of them, but listen to episode 5 for sure. Is it 5 or 6?
See? 5.
6.
This is 5.
This is 5. Make sure they listen to 5. Push 5 to them first, and then say, listen to the rest of them, and then holler at me. But until next time, like always, we appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode.